So maybe talk about that process for you of when you are digging into different things, how you going about that. I mean, I know one time being in touch with emails and you were over in Rome, and I don't know if that was more of a focus on classical music or even with the Latin stuff, or talking about country western or the klezmer, or even some of the things you're talking about now. Is it do you, I don't know, you going to do a lot of research, or what?
I do a lot of research.
How do you approach all that?
I do a lot of research. I do a lot of listening, but you know, like, listening is not passive. Like, you know, I have transcriptions of all kinds of stuff. I have transcriptions of what Sly Stone sung. I have transcriptions of lots of Luis Perico Ortiz and Eddie Palmieri. I have, you know, at one point in school, I was writing out Eddie Palmieri solos and trying to really, what's there? And, you know, like, one of the things that's really interesting about jazz music is that even a lot of people that play it don't really hear it that good. It's very difficult to hear that, you know. But for me, hearing has never really been a problem. Playing is more of a problem than hearing. Because, you know, like an instrument like clarinet will talk back to you in a hot minute. You know, like the clarinet is just like, you know, you think you're gonna play something and it has different ideas. But hearing has never really been much of a problem. You know, like, I don't know if you've been following this Wayne Shorter stuff with this kid.
I saw, he's actually from this area.
But you know what's really crazy? It's like, I was down with him for a minute because I remember, and I was
tell folks what this is about.
What's this?
There's a kid that's going to school in New York named Alex Hoffman, who just said, "Screw Wayne Shorter." I'm being nice about what he said, but he said, "Screw Wayne Shorter" in a post on Facebook. But then he elucidated on it, and you know, I was defending him for a minute because I remember when people that I can't even tell you who they were dissing all kinds of people. You know, like when you're a kid and you're in school, you're trying to learn this music, you think the thing that you're into is the only thing, everything else isn't really happening. And I heard people I know now would not say they didn't like Wayne Shorter as students. Yeah. Especially when Wayne came out with them fusion records, then they really hated him. Okay. But even before that. So I didn't think that, but then he dissed like the plug nickel. Like, there's a post where this is the plug nickel, and I'm just like, you know, I wrote out all that stuff. He says, he said, well, the music, what he's playing is not based on the chord changes. I'm going like, oh my God, oh my God, this is big. But it's just, there's people who are professional musicians playing this music that don't really hear it that good. It's difficult to hear. That's why it's difficult for people that aren't musicians to hear it, because it is difficult. You know, it requires, you know, a lot of people that say they like this music, they just like hanging out. Because you know, hearing the music is very difficult. Like hearing what somebody did. Because somebody would say, man, you know, like Wayne Shorter isn't playing anything real in the play. The guy called Wayne Shorter a charlatan. I was just like, a charlatan? I'm trying to get to this. I'm trying to get there, so I guess I'm a charlatan too. But you know, like, it's just, I mean, it's about hearing and really studying. You know, like if you want to study classical music, you could just go to a library and, you know, if you want to study other kinds of music, you have to do your own notating or something. You know, some people can just hear something once and they can just play it. You know, Jimmy Jufrey was like that. He could just hear something once and just play it. You know, he could hear a Coltrane solo, just play it. He was like that, yeah. But you know, whatever you have to do to get the information is difficult information to get. You know, if you want to study big band arrangement, okay, you could buy a book, but you should be able to get some information just from hearing it. Not like you like it or you're familiar with it or it makes you feel good and so you think you know it. or you can hum along to it, but you actually know what's in it, you know. So I guess I've done that for a lot of different composers and musics, you know. Recently I was studying Hank Williams music and singing it, because I'm interested in that. I'm interested in that. So like, that's what being interested means, you know. Like when you know, the European concept of being scholarly is like you stand up and you talk about something. The African American concept of being scholarly is what Jackie Bayard did, where he could just sit down and say, "Oh, Willie the Lion Smith. Okay, this is what that looks like. This is what that looks like." So I guess I've done that for more things than just jazz.